What is up, everybody? Natalie here, and it's been a while since I've streamed, but I saw this conversation between Michael, who's with us today, and Charlie Kirk, and I didn't think it was worth a whole video, but I thought it would be great for a stream. So we're going to be going through it, and he's going to give you some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, and we'll talk about what went well, what could be better, how much Charlie embarrassed himself, and some of the comments, because the comments were actually very, very good. So, Michael, if you want to just give yourself a quick intro and we can go from there.
What's up, everybody? My name is Michael. I've been vegan since November 2024, so still feels like pretty fresh compared to some other people. But I first became vegan. Somehow I stumbled upon, I'm not sure how it came up in my feed, honestly. I think I was looking at something else before. I don't remember. But I stumbled upon an Earthling Ed video, him just debating someone. And I'm just a very logical person. And I change my mind very easily as long as you can logically defeat my logic. So obviously, in Earthling Ed's videos, he wins every single debate easily. So I watched that. From then, I had heard about Dominion before, years prior. I just didn't look into it. I think subconsciously, I just didn't want to see. But it wasn't really a conscious thing I was avoiding. But watching that Earthling Ed video, I decided to watch Dominion. And from there, I said, this is wrong. And I did research on, can I actually be not only healthy, but high performing? I'm an MMA fighter. I'm into bodybuilding. So obviously that was a concern for me, especially hearing, men need meat to be healthy and all that propaganda. So I did a couple of days of research on that. And then once I realized that you could totally be healthy and high performing on a vegan diet, I switched and have been vegan ever since.
Hell yeah. Good job. Yeah, I was initially exposed to veganism through Earthling Ed as well. But it was really watching Dominion that got that kind of the emotional punch that I really needed to take the leap. All right, so we are going to go through this video and see how it went. So if anyone has not seen this on Charlie's channel, it's because he initially posted it and then he actually unlisted it. So what that means on YouTube is that you can either have things public or just so people with the link can see it. So I put the link in the chat for everyone if you do still want to see it on your end. But I just think it's so funny that Charlie took it down. He must have been truly embarrassed. So you're about to see why.
Go ahead.
Hello. So I've seen, based on most of your clips, that I agree with most of your beliefs and stances on things. Besides
Israel.
No, there's one.
I guessed.
There's one topic that I disagree with your logic on. And I've seen when you debate other people on this topic, oftentimes they get kind of shoot off the mic. So I ask that you please give me a fair chance to debate. I believe that.
Okay, let's stop with that. I thought that was really good. I think that it was smart to ask for consideration. So what was your thinking behind that? Is that something you scripted out in your head or what?
Yeah, it was just because I've seen in other debates that he had with vegans that they would get shoot off the mic and that he would kind of use logical fallacies, ad hominem, appealing to the crowd to kind of overshadow their opinion. And then once the crowd gets going and he makes them seem crazy, like the guy who said, cows get raped, he then quickly got shoot off the mic after like 2 minutes of debating. So I just wanted to pre-frame that just so that he had it in his head that if he did do that, it would go against what he agreed before the debate and would obviously show inconsistency there.
Nice. Yeah, I think that was really good. And for anyone who hasn't seen the guy who talks about cows being raped, it doesn't go well for him at all. And he ends up, he also had bad body language. Like your body language here is really good. You're coming across as confident and calm and rational. And I think that that's something that a lot of people miss. And it's really hard to stay calm in high pressure situations. So were you feeling nervous internally or were you just kind of whatever?
I was feeling a little bit of butterflies. leading up to going up, but once I got up there on the mic, I was totally calm, totally locked in.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I think that happens to me a lot if I'm about to speak in front of crowds. It's like right beforehand it sucks, but then when you're up there, you're just kind of zoned in.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's keep watching.
The breeding, exploitation, and killing of animals for food when we do not have to is immoral. And obviously,
Did you lose a bet?
No. So again, I'm serious. I would ask for a fair chance at a debate without shooting me off the.
Look at how uncomfortable Charlie looks. He's like rubbing his neck and head. That's what people do when they're feeling unsafe.
Yeah.
Mic or making jokes, please.
What do you eat?
What do I eat? Like for protein?
Sure.
I eat tofu, nutritional yeast, seitan. I easily get over 200 grams of protein per day.
It's a lot of tofu to get 200 grams of protein then.
That's not my, I have a.
Okay, so just the faces he's making already, it's like he is unable to take this seriously. And also, it's not that much tofu. Like if you eat one of those blocks of high protein tofu, that's 70 grams. So, you could just eat a few blocks of tofu a day. I feel like that's not that bad, but also you said other food.
I mean, it is kind of hard to get 200 grams a day with just tofu. But again,
it's a lot of tofu.
I don't just eat tofu. So it's like, and I eat way more than that too. Like there's, I have tons of protein sources that I get throughout the day. Edamame, chickpea, a little bit here and there. And, I can easily get 200 grams of protein per day, even when I'm in a calorie deficit. So it's super easy. It's just that because people when they think of protein, they only think of meat, that's the same way I was. And whey protein, which is going to be from dairy, that they think that it's impossible to get that protein intake that you need specifically for like weightlifting and bodybuilding.
Yeah, the meat industry also markets themselves as the protein industry. So if they're fighting any legislation, they're like, "Oh, these people are trying to ban protein."
Yeah.
Even though that's not the only place to get it. So yeah, I just love how triggered Charlie is right now, and I really don't think there's any other topic that would trigger him like this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I have like about a pound a day. That's not my main source. That gives me about 40 a day. But I get 200 grams a day for lifting. In terms of actual health for humans, we do not need that much. We barely even need 100 grams a day, which is easily obtained through plants.
Okay, so what is your contention?
Okay, one thing you're doing really well here that I want to point out is that you don't laugh or smile or allow him to make any jokes. Your body language is showing that this is a serious topic and he should take it seriously. You're also speaking really slowly, which is important in high pressure situations because that signals confidence and that you're not just trying to fill the space with unnecessary words.
Mm-hmm.
And that we should outlaw or make it harder to eat animal-based protein?
No, I'm not as much concerned about the legality of it, more so the morality.
Okay, so are human beings equal to cows?
So that was where
I would put human beings above cows.
So that was where I saw him get someone else. It might have been the cows get raped guy, where he said, do you think that eating meat should be illegal, right? And then you say, yes. And then it's, oh, he's crazy. He's crazy, right? The crowd goes nuts. And so I already pre-planned my response to that question because I think he asked it to the other guy. I don't know if you were friends with the other guy. I think
Ryan.
Like a slimmer white guy, dark hair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ryan.
I think he answered it. He said a satisfying answer, I think.
He said that he would leave it up to the free market, which I thought was a good answer. But of course, a lot of vegans don't like that answer because they would want people to say like, yes, this is wrong. It should be illegal. So I like how you immediately reframed it to morality instead of legality, because that's really what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So
I
thought that was really smart.
Pre-planned that answer.
Nice.
cows.
Okay, so what moral? We don't want to see animal cruelty, but what moral worth would you say a cow has?
I would say that a cow has worth in the sense that we should not, like any sentient animal, cause them suffering or kill them if we do not have to.
Right. So you don't eat fish either, I assume?
I don't eat any animal products at all.
No animal products. And no dairy?
No.
So full vegan.
It's like he. What about dairy?
Except,
Oh,
yeah.
fish. Yeah, these fucking people. So that's another thing that I think a lot of people do is instead of engaging with the topic, they try to just put it back on you.
Mhm.
So he's like not really interested as much in talking about veganism. He's just like, what do you eat? What like that I think is a common thing that happens.
Yeah, he was really good at keeping me on the defensive pretty much the whole time, and which I could have pressured more on him. The one thing I wanted to be careful of, though, was I felt as though if I started interrupting him or doing what he was doing to me, I would get quickly shoot off the mic. So I just tried to stay as calm and respectful as I could, which is a similar way that Earthling Ed debates. I think he's very effective in that sense. But typically, Earthling Ed, he's the debate moderator and in control too, so he can keep going as long as he wants. Whereas me, literally, right before I was about to push him and corner him, I literally said, I want to ask you one more question before I answer your last question. And then as I was saying it, the guy took the mic away from me. So that was frustrating. But yeah, I feel like, yeah, so he was good at keeping me on the defensive, and that's kind of what his strategy was. Interrupting, pointing out, calling out different things I was saying, not letting me really push my points as much as he could allow.
Yeah, and I think that you did the right thing by staying calm. Just based on the comments on that video, a lot of people were like, "Wow, it's so great he stayed so calm." So I think that is the right thing to do in that situation, even if ideally you could be on the offensive more. It's also you're entering into a conversation where Charlie has all the power, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
you have to kind of make some concessions there.
Yeah. And in a crowd that is totally on his side.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know that there would actually be fewer cows if we didn't eat them?
I'm aware, yes.
So you would argue for less cows, not more cows, basically.
I am against the breeding, exploitation, and slaughter of them for food.
What obligation?
Yep. So once again, he was trying to distract you there and maybe have you go into this talking about overpopulation or whatever. But I like how you keep bringing it to that specific phrase. So why is that the phrase that you chose? The breeding, exploitation, slaughter.
Just because that is what we do to them. I didn't really think too much about using that phrase. I just wanted something simple to describe what we do to them, and that I think that is wrong when we don't have to. So I just thought it was a simple way to get the point across of what we shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, I think it's really good because a lot of times people ignore the breeding component or it's just like not thought of as much.
Yeah.
And I think drawing light to it is really important. And also just bringing it back to the topic at hand is something that's really hard to do. So I'm really glad you did that.
Obligations do we have to wild animals?
I mean, the animals that we eat are not wild animals. They're domesticated. And we specifically breed, control, and kill them. We control their whole life, so they're not really wild.
Should we stop other animals from being carnivores?
No, because those animals need to eat. Like a lion needs to eat an antelope to survive. So in a survival situation, I believe it is okay to eat animals, but in the modern day, we do not need to. And I believe.
I wonder why the crowd is kind of like waking up at that moment.
I don't know. I kind of zoned them out.
Yeah.
In that moment, it wasn't really hard to. They weren't really phasing me at all. I don't know. I kind of felt like when I'm So I guess I'm an MMA fighter. It kind of felt like when I'm in the cage and like you don't hear like anything other than your opponent.
Yeah.
Kind of felt like that. So I couldn't really tell when they were. I heard when they would like get rowdy or when they wouldn't. But yeah, I don't really have much comment on like the crowd. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's just another example of Charlie trying to derail, go into some wild animal argument. So I like the continued focus on how we are controlling their lives and breeding them when we don't need to be.
Yeah.
I believe that we were designed by God not needing to eat meat.
What scripture are you referencing?
Genesis 1.
So yeah, I'm curious, had you plans to bring up religion from the beginning, or was it just something you
I
thought of in the
had
moment?
thought about maybe doing it. If it got there again, I felt pretty confident no matter where the debate went to, and looking back, I kind of regret getting into religion, because I feel like I took up some of the time in a sense where, biblically you could make an argument for eating meat and you see like the arguments that he'll make. Whereas I should have kept it strictly to defending the health portions, and then once I established it's just as healthy to be vegan, because of that, why do you justify killing animals and then keep it back on the ethics? I don't know why I just brought it there. Probably just because he is Christian.
Yeah.
That I brought it there, but that was kind of in the moment kind of thing, and that was I kind of regret in that moment when I kind of had a chance to lead it in a certain way. I regret leading it there because I feel like that didn't really lead it anywhere. Considering if you just use the Bible, there's vegan verses and there's meat anti-vegan verses and evidence you can use on both sides. So that was my mistake there, but I still stand that based on Christianity and like conspiracy,
Yep.
I think that the vegan argument there is still winning. So I felt comfortable going into that segment, but looking back, I would have taken it somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was a mistake, just because Charlie is so religious, like that's his whole thing. So I feel like if anyone is ever going to win a debate with Charlie on veganism, I think that it has to have a religious component. Otherwise, he's not really going to take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, people are going to see where this goes in a second and determine if you guys think it's a mistake or not. But I don't know if it necessarily was.
I don't think in a longer debate
129
for the time I had.
Right, and it's you mean the scripture says God gave dominion over the animals?
No, the one
of
that
the earth?
says I've given you every seed-bearing plant, fruit, and tree on this earth, and for you that shall be meat.
Right, but again, just to continue a little further, to be clear, in the Noahic covenant, it does allow for animals.
I'm aware. So after the flood,
and just to be clear, doesn't the law give guidance on how to kill animals, like how to kill animals in certain ways? The Bible is explicitly pro meat eating, so much so that they would kill an animal as a sacrifice to God, or kill the fatted calf in celebration of something.
I mean, when Jesus came, he ended the animal sacrifice. So again, I think during that time there was a lot more food shortage.
Well, hold on. Jesus ate fish. He fed the 5,000 with fish.
Yeah. So like I said,
and
so there are people that say that could have been seaweed. Have you heard that argument before?
Yeah, I heard like the conspiracy argument for that.
Yeah.
In addition, I think that so I'm actually not like a mainstream Christian, more like a Gnostic. So I don't know, most people don't know what that means. It was a group of Christianity that existed all throughout the centuries, and they kept getting slaughtered by the Catholic Church, the men, women, and children, and silenced. We have a lot of like Gnostic gospels and texts of Jesus from that time. In those Gnostic gospels, he actually is against meat eating, and this is from like around early first century, the same time around when the other gospels were written. And he says that one of the writers said that at the Passover he refused to eat the lamb. So, but I think that by our design, I'm not going to say that if I'm in a survival situation and I'm starving, that I'm going to be able to resist eating fish. right? I mean, humans,
Yeah.
we've eaten each other, our carcasses, when we get to that state. So until you're in that starving state, I don't think you can sit in, on a moral high horse in 21st century America, where we have grocery stores, and be like, oh, how dare you even eat meat in the survival situation. So my argument I think I made to him was like, I don't even remember if I even got the full point across, but that, there was 5,000 starving people. And if you're starving, that was my point, is that if we need to for survival, we can eat meat. But if we do not need to, it is by no means acceptable to. Right?
Yeah.
We have no other. That's my stance on it. I know some vegans would disagree, but
Yeah, I think that there's
how do you-
there's definitely debate on that in the vegan world. But if you look at like the definition of veganism, it does say as far as practicable and possible. I think a much bigger reality for vegans is not us being in survival situations, but being in jail or prison and not having access to food. I know vegans who have had to go
wow.
10 days without food. So I think that
Yeah.
that's, are you going to last 10 days if there's food right there that has animal products? Who knows? That's a much more likely scenario than getting stranded on a desert island.
For sure.
I don't understand. But
So-
Jesus didn't say, stop, don't eat the fish. They are sentient beings. He fed fish to people.
So like I said, in a survival situation where there's 5,000 people,
There
who
was
are
also
starving-
bread.
Yeah, but the bread has no protein. So in a survival
But he was,
situation,
hold on, Jesus is God. He could have been, here's a legume. Jesus is God. He could have said, here's an almond. He said, Jesus is God. He could have, here's a lentil. Yet Jesus said, here's fish. So who are you to question Jesus, who he fed the 5,000 with? He could have said, here's tofu.
Who are you to question Jesus? Wow.
Again, so the disciples.
Here's how I let AI save my workload.
Ugh, sorry
be
about this,
honest.
guys.
Most task
This will be
managers
over
are just
soon.
brought him fish and bread. That was what he multiplied. Right?
Yeah,
That's
the
what they
feeding
had.
of the 5,000, right?
But I think in this modern day, we do not need to eat meat to be healthy, have good performance, and survive. And therefore, causing immense suffering to these beings that do feel pain and suffering is
Got it.
wrong.
So I know this might seem unrelated, but I would hope to say you're also pro-life, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So you are consistent. When vegans are not pro-life, that is a
Yeah, I'm overall.
Yeah, I think that I saw you, that you're like pro sentience, or if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, so I'm not totally pro-life, but I'm also not totally, you can have an abortion at any point in the pregnancy. I'm also not super into the abortion debate, not really looking to get into it. I haven't done like that much research into it like I have with veganism. My stance, just like based on what I know, is just I think that a balanced approach that kind of satisfies a middle ground on each issue is that abortion should be permitted before the brain is fully developed, which I think is like 4, 5, 6 weeks, something like that. I think that causes a balance between, when I see videos of abortion from abortions that are like months into pregnancy and they're ripping limbs and body parts out of the woman, that's kind of instinctually disturbing to me in the same way that when I watch Dominion, that's instinctually disturbing to me. So I would say like ideally that should be avoided. I think that with responsibility, there should be no situation where a man has sex and finishes inside a woman and if she just doesn't even check to see if she was pregnant, that's kind of irresponsible. So I think that, again, I'm not really interested in getting more on the debate. I'm not super strongly in that position, but the reason I said I'm pro-life to Charlie was because I knew that if I said that I wasn't, which I think I'm not fully pro-life, that he would lead the debate straight into that and keep it there.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's
definitely. Any vegans watching this, even if you're pro-choice, just lie. Say you're pro-life if you're talking to one of the Charlie Kirk people, unless you want the discussion to be totally derailed, which I think would be bad. So I'm glad that you said what you did there.
Yeah.
Well, conservative. I agree with you on pretty much everything besides this one issue.
But you would agree, though, animals are not humans.
Yes.
Okay. But you would say, if I eat a steak, am I doing something immoral?
I would say that if you eat a steak knowing that, and you didn't have to, and you chose to pay for an animal.
Yes, I plan to do this tonight. So tell me what. Tell me.
So, like I said, I think
So that's another thing that people do when they're debating vegans is I think they're just trying to hurt our feelings and
Yeah.
make us feel like, oh, that we're not making a difference.
I'm gonna
And
eat twice as much meat tonight because of you to make up.
yeah, and it's always steak for some reason. I don't know if they think that steak is the food that hurts us the most. I don't think it is
I think
for
people just like
me.
steak the best, honestly.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Or there's like the manliness associated with
Yeah,
steak
for
as
sure.
well. But yeah, it's pretty cringe. Usually if I do have debates with people on the street and they start saying stuff like that, I ask them if they're trying to hurt my feelings. I wouldn't have said that in this context, but it usually gets a pretty good reaction from
Really?
them because they just say, "Are you trying to hurt my feelings?" Because then it makes it clear that number one, they're not hurting your feelings and
Yeah.
their attempts are unsuccessful, and it like causes them to self-reflect for a moment.
Mm.
So that's a good one to say to people when they're being assholes, like Charlie is right now. But he's about to get worse, guys. Don't worry.
the breeding, exploitation, and killing of animals for food is immoral. Yes.
Immoral.
Yes.
But by what moral standard do you derive that from?
Well, are you against animal cruelty?
Of course I am. No one wants cruelty. In fact, the Bible.
So yeah, I'm
put
curious why you, instead of answering the question, asked him a question. I think that was smart, but curious what your thinking was there.
So he said, by what moral standard do I say that, right? And so he said earlier in the debate, he said, obviously we're against animal cruelty, or so he said that he was against it. So when he asked me, why is it morally wrong to do that, I wanted to put it on him. Well, why are you against animal cruelty? And see if he can kind of explain the answer from his own mouth. And then I was going to go based off that. I think he pressed into something else. We'll see.
Yeah, I think that's smart. That's one of the things that whenever people argue in favor of humane animal farming or giving the animals a good life, I like to push them. Why do we need to give animals a good life before tying it back to if we give them if they deserve to have a good life, they also deserve not to have that life taken from them when they're babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it usually works pretty well, but that's sort of what you did there, just in a roundabout way, which is also very much Socratic method, having them answer questions so they come to their own conclusions, I think is generally a good way to do it.
Bible's explicitly against animal cruelty. And so all of us should be. The animals actually made an appearance in the 10 Commandments. Animals got a Sabbath. They got a day off. It says, for 6 days you shall work and 1 day you shall rest, including your ox and your animal. So the Bible actually has done more for animal rights than any other ancient scripture that we can ever find. So I'm all there. No one wants animal cruelty. However, I just want to understand by what.
It's such a weird thing to say, though, is like, oh, the animals should have a day off. Well, if you're literally slaughtering them, then you're not giving them any days off right now.
Yeah.
That's for sure. They're not getting a day off from being exploited. And I'm sure some countries use oxes still, but that's certainly not what's going on in the United States, right? We're not concerned about animals because they're plowing the fields. It's because they're being mutilated and confined and tortured.
Yep.
What moral framework do you say it is immoral to eat the meat of something that is not human, especially if we get nutrients and we human beings are able to flourish?
Well, I would say, why are you against animal cruelty?
Well, first of all, no one wants to see something suffer unnecessarily. But if and when you are able to derive calories, nutrients, and I would also contest one of the other things, that I do believe we need animal-based protein. In fact, I think one of the main reasons, and maybe you're able to work it out, that young men are seeing such a dramatic drop in testosterone rates is the removal of animal-based proteins from diets, so young men especially, ages 10, 11, and 12, and replacement of a lot of these counterfeit soy-based, plant-based proteins.
This is such a ridiculous argument because
crazy.
I don't think that's happening. I think that, I don't know the exact stats on it, but yeah, aren't we eating more meat, especially young men, because there's kind of this manosphere type thing going on? I don't know if that's all the way down to 11-year-olds, but the idea of us serving more soy, I feel like is just completely unfounded in reality.
Totally. Yeah, and it's gonna animal agriculture has been growing and is gonna keep growing. Like,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So that's just he's just pulling stuff out of his ass.
Yeah. I'm curious why you didn't push back on him and say something like, "Well, we're eating more meat than ever."
I'm not sure. Let's see what did I say here?
So studies have found that with equal
Okay,
calorie and protein intake, there's zero difference.
I wanted to address. He said the testosterone levels.
Mm,
All right, so I
yeah.
felt that was a more important point to address.
Yeah. And then some of the stuff about like when we match protein for protein, we see similar like resistance training outcomes and things like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Between and testosterone levels between animal-based diet. And
Have you ever heard the term soy boy?
Yes, of course. I am a soy boy. Yes.
You are a soy boy.
In terms of that's what people call vegan. So yes, I am.
I didn't call you that. I just said, have you ever heard of the term?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like he brings it up thinking
No, I
that
didn't
you're
call
going to
you
be really insulted, and then you're actually just like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm proud soy boy.
Proud soy boy. Yeah, I think it's funny that people use that as an insult, but we don't take it as an insult at all.
No.
It's just like something stupid. But I mean, to someone like Charlie, it's like the worst insult ever, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I've heard of the term. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's because.
Hold on, but again, I don't want to get too deep into biology, but soy is inherently estrogenic, right?
So soy has phytoestrogens. They're not actual estrogens. They work in the body similar to a SERM, which is a selective estrogen receptor modulator. What that actually does in some situations.
I had never heard of a SERM. Is that like, do you have a background in nutrition science or something?
No, that's hormones. So if my story is that I had a brain tumor, diagnosed with a brain tumor when I was 21, and it was on my pituitary gland, and it went undiagnosed for years, totally wrecked my hormones. I was suicidally depressed during college, and doctors told me it was all in my head, and then I was making it up. So I had to figure it out on my own. So I became an expert on hormones, and yeah. So I managed.
So you heard it from him. Get a brain tumor, and then you'll know how to debate Charlie Kirk, guys.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm glad that you figured it out and recovered. How old are you now?
I'm 25.
So you don't have to be a student to debate Charlie Kirk?
Well, I actually am a student. So
I
came into school, in high school, they're like, you got to go to college, otherwise you're a failure. So I went to school for something that just interested me because I didn't know what I wanted to do in my career. I went to social psychology. Then on my last year, I dropped out because through my having to do all that research when I was dealing with my tumor, I transformed myself, got super into self-improvement, specifically at male self-improvement. And I was like, I'm gonna start being a personal trainer. And now I have my own business where I transform guys. So that's probably what you saw if you looked at my page, stuff like that. So I started my own business, and then I'm moving out of Champaign this year, and I was able to get free tuition this year if I applied for U of I. They got some like program or something like that that's pretty good for that. And so I was like, I might as well finish my bachelor's degree because I like being able to say that I have a degree in social psych because it's really interesting to me. And so I like having that credential with that. So I dropped out of school for 2 years and then came back this year. So this year I am a current student at U of I.
Did they check that you're a current student before you can ask a question?
So they had 2 lines. They had lines for students and lines for general admission. I don't even think any of the GA even got in because the student line was so long. So I was able to get in because I actually am a student. Yeah.
And they like checked your ID?
They didn't. They said they were going to, but as they were shuffling us in, they just said, like, pull up your email. I just like pulled up my email. They just like glanced at it for half a second. Okay,
good to know. I can sneak into the student line if
Yeah.
I ever have the chance.
Student lines, you can sneak in.
Yeah.
And especially if it's at a big school where there's a huge line, they're gonna let the students in first. So you might not even be able to. I don't think any of the GA even got in.
Okay, cool.
Some situations that can actually lower estrogen in males if they have an estrogen imbalance, and
suppress testosterone production.
it does not suppress the testosterone production. Studies have found equal testosterone between meat eaters and vegans, considering calories and protein equal. In addition, many professional athletes
No. The consumption of soy. The consumption of soy.
Yeah, I mean, most in order to
let's get down to one last question though, just from a very
switches it up right before I can even answer the question.
He's kind of shifting the goalpost a bit. Were you just going to say, well, most of the vegans in those studies would be consuming soy?
Yeah. Soy is one of the main protein sources for vegans. So,
yeah. Oh, Charlie.
A very technical one. Wouldn't you agree that it is far more expensive to eat vegan than to eat animal-based protein? You have to go out.
No, it's about the same. Like a pound of when I before I went vegan, I'd have like 93% ground beef for like lean protein. That'd be like at Aldi, it was like $6. So now I eat seitan, which most people don't know because it's I just eat meat. But it has in 400 calories, it has 80 grams of protein, and it's only $5. So I mean, it's not that expensive to eat vegan.
So, but let me just ask.
Yeah, one thing there is there's also that study that shows that vegan diets are 30% cheaper. That's a statistic I like to throw out.
I didn't know about that study.
Yeah, it came out of Oxford in 2021, and basically it compares 5 different diet types across developed countries, and vegan diets were the cheapest, then vegetarian, then omnivore, and then pescatarian is the most expensive. So maybe it's 4 diet types, but I think that's a good thing to know. And then also mentioning like how the cheapest foods are naturally vegan.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that you still got that point across anyway. I thought ground beef was more expensive than that, but I just haven't.
I mean, it was at Aldi. It's like cheaper than other places.
Right. Aldi. Yeah.
Just ask you one last question on this, because how almost everything you consume has to be either manufactured or put together, where actually the way we're arguing to eat is far more of the earth and far more of whole foods. The vegans actually have to go out of their way to try and have different ingredients and compositions and oils that largely are far more human interference into the consumption of the food process, right? Which one is more of the earth, eating vegan or eating, let's just say, more paleo, not necessarily carnivore?
So I'll answer that. Then I have one question to ask back to you. In terms of the food itself, I eat mostly pretty much just whole food vegan. Like sometimes I'll eat a vegan, like Impossible Burger. That's not necessarily
No, time out. Hold on. That is like the most
So this is where Charlie senses his opportunity to pounce. Yeah. And what I found interesting was that in the comments, it backfired. A lot of the comments on this are saying like the kid, basically that you briefly mentioned Impossible, and Charlie just like latched onto it to avoid losing the debate. But is there anything you wish you'd said differently here?
Probably just not mention it unless he brought it up, and just say, no, I eat whole food. Just take his debate. It's like, I said that because I probably assumed that he was going to bring it up. And so I wanted to just make the point with, occasionally I'll consume like something that's not whole foods. That's not necessarily healthy, even though I think that definitely Impossible Burger is healthier than factory farm meat, right?
Yeah.
But
I think
any meat. Yeah. So but I think even then I said that it wasn't, just because I didn't want to get into that, right? Because it's gonna be really hard to convince. I wanted to get it back on towards the ethics as quickly as I could, which is what I said. I have one more question to ask you. I would have pinned him on the ethics. So I didn't want to diverge into the arguing about Impossible Burgers versus real meat. I didn't want to get into that. I just wanted to answer the question and get back on track towards that. So that's why I just said it's not healthy. I just wanted to agree with him there because I didn't think that mattered.
Gotcha. Okay, we'll watch what you said, and then I'm going to talk about what I think would have been best to say.
Okay.
Manufactured.
I know that's not healthy. That's
not even healthy. Now you're proving my point. Like, let's just be clear. An Impossible Burger has like 50 ingredients that you cannot pronounce, and it is made in like a lab. Literally, it's like lab-grown meat, and versus a cow.
I understand. I'm not saying it's healthy, but
No,
at the
but
same time, a cheeseburger is not the staple of a healthy diet either. Like with cows.
If I had to choose like a double cheeseburger from Culver's or an Impossible Burger, it's a double cheeseburger every single day. That is better for you. Like it's not even close. It's like not even close.
That's fair. But either way.
And let me interrupt.
You can eat mostly whole
The fact that we have to make Franken food, like Frankenstein food, is one of the greatest arguments that we should continue to eat real meat.
I eat only whole food.
Yeah. So one thing that I wish you would have drawn attention to is how selectively bred the animals are. How like there's nothing natural or of the earth about our current food chain.
Yeah.
They're bred to grow 300% faster than the 1950s. They're artificially inseminated. I think things like that potentially could land well, but I also don't even know if that would even enter his brain.
That probably would have been better.
It could have been better. I also think that, I mean, I see that you didn't want to get into the debate about impossible meat, but I feel like since that is so ingrained in society, especially in conservative spaces, that the meat industry has done a really good job with their anti-vegan meat talking points. I would like to see people try to debunk it, or at least just say like, hey, we have studies comparing them side by side, and the plant-based meats actually come out healthier, especially in terms of heart health outcomes, and heart disease is the top killer in the US, like something like that. But you're right, that probably would have drawn out that part of the debate longer.
And he said last question, and I my time was getting towards the end, and so I just wanted to get on to the next point and then launch my last attack, and you'll see it before I can do that. I get pushed off. So
yeah, let's watch it.
Foods like
no, I got it. But you're the one that brought up Impossible Burgers. I did.
I know. Right? I was saying that you're gonna keep going and saying that that's not like an example. A lot of people use that as an example to shame veganism. Well, that's not an example of a.
I am curious. How did you get into this?
I first got into it by I saw how animals were treated in factory farms, which is what 99.
What did that guy yell?
He said next.
Oh.
Yeah.
99% of meat sold in America is factory farmed. So a lot of people say, "Oh, grass-fed, pasture-raised."
I mean, look,
that is only a small percentage.
I do want to thank you because we'll get to the next question. By the way, you guys, the line's over there. I see. What's going on? It is hard to take an unpopular position, and you've taken a very unpopular public position, of which you should be commended for that.
Well, let's talk about.
All right. Yeah, you definitely got pushed out of there.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that like as soon as it was like you were saying 99% of meat comes from factory farms, that people wanted to kick you off. Why do you think that was?
Because they don't want to cognitive dissonance. They don't want to be confronted with that. They just want to enjoy the taste of animal bodies and not have to think about the morality of their actions. So that's why.
While pretending that their meat comes from their uncle's happy farm.
Exactly, like prancing in the pastures, and a quick painless death where the animal's happy. So yeah, that's that.
Nice. Well, let's look at some of the comments because I think they're really good. This video is now unlisted. Proverbs 16:18. Do you know what verse that is?
I don't know.
Me either.
I'll look it up real quick.
This guy came in good faith. Why trash him? One of the few times I agree with the person debating Charlie. I mean, they're pretty much all taking your side.
It says Proverbs 16:18 states, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." It's probably emphasizes that excessive pride and arrogance can lead to ruin and downfall.
Yes. Someone's asking why they can't see the video. Did Kirk delete it? Yes, he unlisted it, but I will put it in the chat again so you guys can go see it, go comment on it. And if anyone has questions in the chat, send them in now before we hop off. But I'm so impressed with this comment section because it's rare to see people agreeing with vegans, especially a largely conservative audience. In my friend Ryan, when he debated Charlie, there were a lot of positive comments about him as well, but they weren't quite as positive as here. So I think something you did clearly resonated with this crowd. So I'm wondering what it is and what vegans can learn from this. So what advice would you give to someone who's, trying to challenge Charlie Kirk?
I mean, so like I said, push him more, right? I let him, I was on the defensive, right? Which he's a professional debater. That's what he does. He knows how to do those things. I'm not a professional debater. And when I do debate veganism, it's people, I'm not a vegan activist. That's not my main mission. It's just something I'm also like a side thing I'm passionate about. And whenever I do debate, I able to sit down and have the full conversation. So I don't need to. I can defend everything, and then attack back. Right. So for Charlie, where you're going to shoot off the mic quick, you need to get it to the point where I would say quickly establish that it's healthy to and totally good for performance for athletes to be plant-based. And then as soon as you can take that, like what I would have asked him at the end was I would say, so considering that, vegan diets have equal testosterone, equal performance, there's plenty of championship athletes, record-breaking powerlifters who've been vegan for decades, and we do not need to eat meat to survive. Why do you then justify the breeding, exploitation, and slaughtering of these animals when you yourself say you're against animal cruelty? So I think as long as that's the main method I go with people, is because most people are under the impression that it's not fully healthy. So you just got to establish that it is. And then once you do that, you just push on. So because it's healthy, why do you think it's okay to eat meat? I like the taste of it. Boom. And then it's like, you're putting your own pleasure over the lives of sentient beings, which is not a position that anyone is going to rightly justify. So I think that if I did it again, I'd be a little more aggressive there. I wouldn't have gone into religion again in a longer debate. I would have gone there, but because of the short time that you have, especially when it's Charlie Kirk and you're in a crowd of people who are on his side and he's uncomfortable with having the conversation, he's going to try to push you off as soon as you can. Try to get it there as soon as you can is what I would say.
Yeah, I think there's also a piece of it that involves a lot of preparation beforehand. Like you're pretty visibly in good shape. I think that is something that people could try to do to just immediately get rid of like the veganism isn't healthy, because if you're standing there saying it is and you look healthy and taking the soy boy name, then I think that's powerful in itself. The other thing that I always recommend to people, which it sounds like you're doing in your personal life, not specifically like out on the streets, is having lots of conversations about veganism. Because if you've never debated someone on veganism, like you're not going to be able to debate Charlie Kirk. So it's a lot better to go out on the streets when the stakes are really low, join AV, get involved with whatever organization you can, or just go for it on your own. That's what I did for years. Then you learn the best ways to respond to those arguments to different types of people. And I think that's really, really valuable. Someone was asking me last week if they knew any if I knew any conservative vegans, and I do know some, but I don't know that many. So I am glad that there are people like you who can speak to the conservative audience.
And I'm not like that. I'm not really that political or like conservative. I didn't even vote. Like I'm not I don't like Trump. I'm not that conservative. But I would say in general, kind of socially, or just in terms of society, I'm a little more traditionally minded, I would say. And I am more towards a sense of traditional masculinity in a healthy way, right? So I think that's where my kind of niche is in the vegan thing, is being an example of someone who's literally an MMA fighter, bodybuilder, looks like he's in shape, looks masculine, and is promoting the vegan diet. Because one of the things that I've seen when I talk to people about it in real life, they're like, what? You're vegan? You don't look like a
Yeah.
vegan. That's like, what does a vegan look like? You know?
Yeah.
So I'm not super political. I just wanted to establish that. I'm not like
Okay.
super Republican or super conservative. I'm just more like traditionally masculine, I guess, in my personal life. And that tends to coincide with more people who are with more, you know, Republican, eat meat, Donald Trump, like, you know,
Yeah.
UFC, MMA. So you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, the meat industry has certainly co-opted masculinity, and
Yeah.
you know that's been going on for centuries, and especially recently with all the carnivore influencers and stuff like that. So I do think it's good to have examples of positive masculinity from a vegan idea. I tend to be a bit more gender critical and like not really buy into any of the framework. But I can see that there's definitely value in having people who are promoting healthy
Yeah.
masculinity
And
too.
I'm totally cool with people being whatever they want. Like
Yeah, right, right.
men being feminine, men being homosexual, transgender, whatever they want. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. My thing is just that for men who do want to be masculine, that's what I coach. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not, I also promote that a man wants to be feminine, a woman wants to be masculine. That is 100% acceptable and okay, and they should do whatever they want to do. So I guess in that sense, that's what I mean by I'm not super conservative to where I'm anti
Yeah, for sure. You're not
LGBT.
like
I'm just
women need
masculine.
to
That's
be in
what I
the
want to
kitchen.
be. That's how my core is masculine, and I teach men who also have that desire and want to, you know, maximize themselves in that way to do so in a non-toxic way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, so I would say you probably don't agree with Charlie Kirk on most things like you said in
Uh,
the debate, because he's very
yeah, I just I think that his debating skills are pretty good and his logic. So I guess I would say that a lot of times I think he beats some people's logic
yeah,
sometimes. Again, I don't watch him that much, but I also just said that because I wanted to come from the point of someone who seems conservative and would agree with him on everything, so that he couldn't come at me like I'm like some liberal soy boy
yes.
and use that against me. So I wanted to say, "Oh, I agree
Yeah,
with you on everything besides this one issue," to isolate the issue. It's also why I
yeah,
said I'm fully pro-life. I don't want to. I wanted to come at, you know, because I think that that's what he would have done. He would have been, um, "Oh, this guy's liberal. How else can I try to attack him for his?" Whereas if
yeah.
I tell him I agree with you on everything, I'm conservative on everything. Besides this, he has no other way to attack me other than address the argument at hand.
Yeah, I think that that was really smart, and anyone watching, if you have the chance to debate Charlie, just say you agree with stuff, like, it doesn't really matter, right? Like, we're there to speak up for animals in the best way we possibly can. And Michael, I would encourage you to get more involved in vegan activism, because I think that you could really make a difference for animals. It sounds like you already have, so you know, doing more of that is also great.
Yeah, I
But yeah, is there anything else you want to cover from
think
this
that's it.
debate?
That's it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, anyone in the comments have stuff they want to say? Do you guys want me to stick around for a bit? I could probably stream for a few more minutes. Um, if anyone has questions, but if not, I'm gonna wrap things up. But I'll go ahead and take you off the stage, Michael. And thanks for coming on. And
Thank you
then
so much.
do you want to let people know where they can find you?
Yeah. So my Instagram is just at I could probably put in the uh I don't think I can put it in the chat, but it's just at my first and last name is my Instagram. So a lot of my content is just for my business, which is helping men transform into the best version of themselves. But I do post like vegan things here and there. It's just not and will never be my main mission. Because my story again was someone who was suicidally depressed and focused on self-improvement to pull myself out of that. And now I teach other men that same way. And veganism is kind of a secondary passion and calling of mine, but it's still very important to me. So I do post here and there about veganism.
Nice. Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on. And yeah, hopefully I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye. All right, everybody. So yeah, brief life update for me, why I haven't been streaming. I had my laptop totally break, and then I got a new laptop pretty recently, and this is the first stream that I'm doing from it. So let me know how it looks, how it sounds, if you want more streams. I think I'm going to do one reacting to my appearance on Jubilee, which some people may not have seen yet because it wasn't really an episode about veganism, but it was matching people to their jobs where I was an animal activist. So the reason I want to stream that is because I'm going back on Jubilee for a vegan meat eater thing. But basically, all they're doing is trying to guess who is vegan and who's a meat eater based on looks. So we'll see what opportunities there are there. Garuda Legend 20. Wow, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I respect you because you are one of the few vegans taking action. Question is, will be the next move trying to ban meat or make it expensive? So the next move is not going to be banning meat or making it expensive, because I actually think that bans don't really work unless the public is behind it. So that's part of why prohibition didn't work so well, is because around 50% of the population was still against it. Prohibition in the US was when they banned alcohol sales, for anyone who doesn't know. So I think if we tried to ban meat right now, there would just be riots, and it wouldn't actually help animals because it would just immediately get overturned. As far as making meat more expensive, I would love to help change the subsidies that animal farmers get. And I think it's unfair that only 4% of subsidies in the US go toward plant-based food for human consumption, and the rest go toward either animals or animal feed. So do I want to level the playing field? For sure. Is Pro Animal Future currently working on that? Not right now. We have not announced our next campaigns, but if you guys want to stay up to date, here is a link, proanimal.org. Actually, use this link, proanimal.org/YT. And you can sign up for our email list and sign up to be an activist. We're going to start having remote actions activists can take, which is going to be really exciting. So yeah, definitely check that out, and you'll be the first to know what our new campaigns are, which I am very excited about, and know they will not just be in Denver this time. I want to do more activism, but I'm working 2 jobs. Hey, I know the struggle. It can be really hard to do activism when you have 2 jobs. I guess I haven't been in that situation. I had a job while I was doing YouTube. I've had 2 jobs in the past, and I know that it can feel like you never really have time. So sign up for the Pro Animal action board, and then we're going to start sending out actions that will not take as long to do. So if you've only got 10 or 15 minutes to dedicate toward activism, you could do one of those. In the meantime, till that happens, just try to find small things. If your job is at a restaurant, you could put stickers in the bathroom, pro-vegan stickers in the bathroom. Any free time you do have, you could go practice street outreach, which I think is mostly effective in terms of improving your interpersonal skills and being able to talk about veganism. There's a lot of really great Reddit activism going on, just posting on subreddits, and you can DM me to learn more about that. I can connect you with the Reddit people, but you can always fit activism into your life if it's really a priority. But I do understand that it is difficult. It's more difficult for some people than others. I'm not going to lie, I got afraid with your attempt to take down lamb possessing plant in Colorado. So it's not a lamb possessing plant. It was a slaughterhouse. It was the largest industrial lamb slaughterhouse in the country that were violating halal protocol and abusing animals. And I would hope that you would be happy that I was helping to try to shut down that place because they were being bad. They're still open, unfortunately. But, trying to ban slaughterhouses was an ambitious campaign, and we'll see how the next ones are. All right. Do you know anything about whether soy-based estrogen has any negative health effects? No negative health effects that I know of, and I don't think the evidence shows any negative health effects. There was obviously this famous study where this one guy was drinking a gallon of soy milk a day, and then he ended up gaining weight and getting a little man boobs going on. And the reason he gained weight was not because of soy, it was because he was drinking so many calories. So if you're consuming a lot of calories, you're going to end up getting bigger, and that caused the negative health effects, not the soy specifically. So I am not aware of any negative health effects. However, I have not looked at all the nutrition science. So, look into it yourself. Can we get a debate between Earthling Ed and Charlie? That would be sick. I don't think Earthling Ed is the best person to debate Charlie that exists. I am not sure who that would be. I would want it to be someone who is conservative and muscular and just knows all of the arguments inside and out. So if you guys know anyone like that, then I would recommend them. All right. People should be more worried about soy allergies than phytochemicals. Soy is one of the top 10 allergens, but it's not as common as milk or eggs or shellfish. But yeah, we shouldn't be worried about phytochemicals. Jamie Logan would be great to debate with Charlie. I think that would be good. I think she would be good because she also has an ability to laugh at things in a way that's charming. And I think that would work because Charlie would be trying to make jokes. And if you just let him steamroll you, it won't work. But Jamie's pretty good at setting boundaries in her debates and laughing when appropriate, but also calling people out and pushing back when not. Garuda, thank you for the $10. Actually, lambs are treated better than other livestock. Should you not aim for chickens since they are slaughtered in numbers the most and most horrible treated? That is true that lambs are treated better. That doesn't mean they're treated well, and they still only get to live for 6 to 8 months, which is not very long. It's unfortunate. They're not treated better in the slaughterhouse, though. The slaughterhouses are very bad. As far as should we focus on chickens, I think that is a valid argument because chickens are smaller, so you have to kill a lot more individuals to eat chicken than if you eat, a sheep or a cow. So I think it's smart to focus on chickens, and there may be some campaigns we do in the future that will focus on that. The reason we did the slaughterhouse ban in Denver was because we are from Denver. I'm not, but the people starting the campaign are, and they wanted it to be a local initiative, and you got to, you have to start where you are. David Rams or Carnism Debunked versus Charlie Kirk. I think David Rams would be really good. I'm not sure if he's conservative, but I think he is. And he's huge. Like when I met David in person, he was he looks pretty big on his videos, but he was way bigger. So I think that would go a long way with Charlie Kirk. Joey, I think Joey might be good. Yeah, now that I think about it, I would think that an American is probably better. So maybe not David Rams. I think he could just be like, oh, well, you don't even live in America, and not take people as seriously. Joey with the gang background, I actually don't think that would work very well with Charlie Kirk. It might, but I'm just kind of, after Joey and the debate with Tristan Tate, I didn't think that was very good at all. So I would have reservations about him being the top person, I would say. I love Joey's work. I think that he does great investigations and great debates, but I'm still a little traumatized by that Tristan Tate debate because of how bad it was. I feel like focusing on animals with the greatest capacity for sentience and the greatest familiarity and similarity to humans would make the most impact in general. Not in terms of numbers, but in terms of evolving society, there is a solid chance that it would do that because it's a lot easier for humans to empathize with elephants or whales or, more intelligent animals. But then there's also the opposite argument. If we could get humans to empathize with shrimp, then all those other animals will be included in that as well. If you care about shrimp, you're probably going to care about a cow. But Yeah, I think that the biggest struggle in animal rights is just going to be getting past the social norms of eating animals and dealing with our corrupt government, which is, the meat industry has their hands in every level of government, and that's a problem, and we need to fight back. So getting people more political is good. Tate is even worse than Charlie. I would agree with that, considering he's literally a sex trafficker. And as far as I know, Charlie Kirk isn't, but Charlie is very disingenuous and annoying. And a lot of times when he wins debates, it's because he's just saying false information. He's spreading misinformation. He's not actually making good points. When you fact check him, he's wrong. He's just very confident and practiced at debate. So it comes across as better. Do you think that Charlie would debate with Dr. Michael Greger or Neil Barnard? I feel like they're too old. Charlie seems to go after 18-year-olds, so he might not be as interested in that. And they definitely know a lot about nutrition, but I actually have not ever seen either of them in a debate. I've seen them having conversations with people, so I'm not sure how they would do. Evening all. Yeah, we're probably about to wrap up unless anyone else has more questions. I'm going to keep working, and my parents are in town this week, which is very fun. And let me know if you guys want to see a stream about my Jubilee appearance and my future appearance, and what videos you guys want from me, because my last video did very well, so I got a lot of new subscribers. So I'm looking to keep up that momentum. So if anyone has ideas, DM me on Instagram. Make sure to sign up for proanimal.org to go sign up to be an activist there, because we're going to start sending out actions soon that you can help. Frustrating that personality has such an impact over rationality. Wish people looked at arguments more than those giving them. Yes, I am reading a book right now called How to Win Any Argument. It's really good. He is talking about how people are much more persuaded by feelings than facts, which I already knew, but how the best thing we can do in conversations is to tell personal stories, because that helps people relate to us, and then they're a lot more likely to be persuaded. So try to pull on people's heartstrings when you're talking to them, and then hit them with facts, because facts are relevant as well. You on Jubilee? Yes, I went on Jubilee. Let me find that episode just for you guys so you can see it, and then I may stream it in a few weeks. Guess my job. I guess I could just stream it right now, but I don't know. I was thinking about wrapping up soon. Okay, here it is. I don't think I did as well as I could have. So let me know what you guys think. I didn't have much time, and I'm going to have equally as little time for the next Jubilee. Oh, for the next Jubilee that I'm going to be on. So yeah, we will see. Is the book by Ed? No, it's by, I forget his name. He's like a pretty big political commentator. I know he's Muslim. I think he's from the UK, but he's been on a bunch of like TV shows and such. You on any other social media platform? Yes, I am on Instagram at Natty Fulton. I'm also on Substack, which I really like. I would like if you guys went to my Substack, because I think it's good. I'll drop that link in here as well. If you want to see more of my thought process and get emails from me where I recommend books and shows, and I also talk about kind of deeper ideas in animal rights advocacy. Kirk versus vegan gains. You are right. That would be good. I think Richard would crush him, and I think it would be very entertaining. The only thing that I think it could go wrong is if Kirk did bring up wild animals and Richard went down the kill carnivore thing. I just think that would derail it. But he's huge and scary, and I think that is what we need to beat Charlie Kirk. Someone who is huge and scary. Not focusing on the Socratic method. Not sure what that question is related to. If you're giving a speech, you can't really focus on the Socratic method because you can't just like ask everyone questions. It's just like you talking. What kind of personal stories are good to bring up? I mean, yeah, obviously depends what you're trying to persuade people for. You'll probably notice when you watch a lot of animal rights speeches that they generally walk people through their journey of going vegan, which I think is pretty persuasive, but I would like to see just shorter examples and people talking about more stuff. So I think if I were going to talk about animal rights to a crowd, I like to tell the story of the first time I went to a pig slaughterhouse and I saw the slaughterhouse workers beating pigs off of the trucks and how they really didn't get off the trucks at the same time that I was hearing the screams of pigs as they were dying in gas chambers. That's a story that really resonates with people. So any stories you have about you being with animals, especially one-on-one or going into farms or slaughterhouses, or if you don't have those, just, how bonding with your companion animal helped you consider animals can be really persuasive. When you get on Blue Sky, I am on Blue Sky. I'm Natty Fulton on Blue Sky as well. I haven't posted there in a while. Guys, I have a lot of social media to manage because I have this YouTube channel and then also all the Pro Animal Future channels. And now that we're in more cities, there are more things to do. So it's tough to be on everything. Still figuring it out. Garuda, thank you for more money. Don't you think vegans are losing the vegan argument when they tell fake information about their diet being the healthiest on earth? So there are, there's some evidence that vegan diets are really healthy, like the lower all-cause mortality, way lower instances of heart disease. So maybe saying healthiest on earth could be a stretch, but there is some compelling evidence that it is very healthy. So, I mean, if what you're asking is should vegans, promote fake information, obviously not. I think that we should stick to the facts because the facts are already in our favor. So why make up lies if we don't have to, is how I think about it. But yeah, depends on which vegan diet. Correct. If you are on my vegan diet, you're probably not the healthiest ever because I just love protein bars. And I know that having some processed food is not as good as not having any processed food. Not necessarily a hard rule, but the ones I'm eating probably have sugar and stuff. So, I do the best I can. All right. Any other questions? I'm about to hop off. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this stream. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you guys across the country look up where Charlie Kirk is going to be touring and try to infiltrate and try to debate him because we really need more visibility. And also make sure to comment on that video he posted so he can see that just hiding videos isn't going to make us go away. We're never going to go away until every cage is empty and every animal is free. All right. Peace out, guys. Have a great evening.